Hi everybody and welcome to our last and final video of Chapter 1 of Algebra. So in this video, it's just going to be a review of the big ideas that we've had from this chapter. So what I'm going to do is go back through the big ideas and do a few example problems for each one, so that as you're studying for your test, you know that you can always come back here to look at some sample problems. So big idea number one is that in order to simplify expressions, we need to distribute and combine like terms. So for number one, I'm just going to circle the like terms because there's nothing to distribute. There's no parentheses, so I'm not going to distribute. So my like terms here would be negative 4x and positive 2x, which when I combine those, I get negative 2x. I also see that there are like terms 7 and negative 8. 7 minus 8 would give me negative 1. Now, since the 3x squared doesn't have any like terms, I'm just going to drop that down, and that would be my final answer. For number 2, I'm going to go ahead and distribute because this time there are parentheses in this problem. So I'm going to do negative 2 times 3x, which is negative 6x. I'm also going to do negative 2 times negative 4, and since two negatives multiplied together make a positive, I would get positive 8. Now, neither of these terms is like terms with the other one, so that would be as simple as this answer gets. For number 3, once again, I see a parentheses with a number on the outside, so I'm going to distribute. 3 times 2x is 6x, and 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop down the plus 4x. I'm not going to change it. Now, when I look at those terms, I do see some like terms. What I noticed is that the 6x and the 4x are like terms. So if I combine those, I get 10x. And since the minus 3 does not have any like terms, I'm just going to drop that down and not change it, and that would be my final answer. For number 4, I'm going to just distribute the numbers that are outside the parentheses to the numbers that are inside. So I'm going to start with negative 2 times 4x, which is negative 8x. Then I'm going to do negative 2 times 7, which is negative 14. Next, I'm going to do 3 times 2x, which is positive 6x. And finally, I'm going to do 3 times negative 1, which is negative 3. Next, I'm going to look for some like terms to see if there's anything that I can simplify. So right away, I'm noticing that the negative 8x and the 6x are like terms. So negative 8x plus 6x would be negative 2x. Next, I'm noticing that the negative 14 and the negative 3 are also like terms. So if I combine those, I get negative 17, and that's my final answer. Now, the second big idea of this chapter was that we can solve equations using inverse operations. Some equations have no solution or infinitely many solutions. So let's try solving some equations. Just like usual, I'm going to start by drawing a vertical line through my equal sign in problem number 5. Now, since the inverse of multiplication is division, I'm going to solve this by dividing by 2 on both sides. So the 2's cancel on the left side, and I'm left with x. And 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. For number 6, I would draw a vertical line through my equal sign. Now, since there are two operations here, the addition and the division, I'm going to undo them in reverse order of operations. So in other words, I'm going to subtract the 3 first, which means the 3's are going to cancel, and I'm going to write x divided by negative 2 equals 7 minus 3, which is 4. Then I'm going to multiply, because multiplication is the inverse of division, and I'm going to get x equals 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8. For number 7, we've got a little bit more complicated of a problem. Because there are parentheses this time, I'm going to start with distributing. So when I distribute the negative 2, I get negative 6x minus 8, and then I'm just going to drop down the plus 9x and the 21. Next, I'm going to combine like terms. So negative 6x plus 9x would give me 3x. I'm going to drop down the minus 8 and the equals 21. Next, I'm going to add 8 on both sides. So I'm going to get 3x equals 21 plus 8, which is 29. And then I'm going to divide by 3. So if I divide by 3 on both sides, I get x equals, and 29, I got to get my calculator out now, 29 divided by 3 would give me 9.67. For number 8, I'm going to draw a vertical line through the equal sign. Now in this problem, I'm noticing there are x's on both sides, so I need to get those together. So I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides in order to move all the x's to the left. Now 6x minus 4x is 2x plus 2. Just going to drop that down, equals the 4x's cancel, and I get negative 8. Now I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides, and I get 2x equals negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10. And finally, I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So I'm going to get x equals negative 10 divided by 2, which is negative 5. On the next page, then we learned that we can use the process of solving equations to rearrange literal equations. So if it says in number 9 to solve 4x, that means get x by itself. So to do that, I'm going to use the same process as solving equations. So I'm going to start by subtracting the b on both sides, which means I get ax equals, and on this side, I'm going to have c and then minus b. Those are not like terms, so they can't be combined, so I'm just going to write them both down separately. Next, I'm going to divide by a on both sides. So in the end, I have x by itself, which is what I wanted, equals, since none of these are like terms, I'm just going to keep it c minus b all over a. For number 10, we're going to solve for p. Now p is on the left side, and the only thing I see there by the p is an m. So the only thing I have to do here to get p by itself is divide both sides by m, which means on the left side the m's will cancel, and I'm going to get p equals q minus r over m. Finally, our last big idea was that we can translate verbal phrases into expressions and equations. For example, in number 11 it says the sum, which means add, of 3 and a number, which means n, is, which means equals 10. So I would write 3 plus n equals 10. For number 12, it says the product, which means multiply, of 4 and a number, which means n. So to show that those are being multiplied together, I would just write 4n. And that's it. Those are the big ideas from Chapter 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that your review goes smoothly so we can be very successful on our first summative assessment. Have a good night.